Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Great Wine Capitals webinar. My name is Armando Corsi. I'm the director of the Wine Business Group at the Adelaide Business Group, a member of the Activities and Partnership Working Group at Great Wine Capitals. I can see that you are joining in, so we might just take a few moments for letting everyone in, and then I will do a more formal introduction of all our speakers and our esteemed moderator. So I might just be asking everyone to be a bit patient whilst everyone joins in, and then we can keep on going. I hope you are having a great time wherever you're joining us from, whether it's from the cold down under, I guess, or the beautiful summertime that you might have in Europe or in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, I can see that the number of participants has stabilized, so I might just start kicking it off because we have a lot to cover and so much time to go through everything. So let me start again by welcoming you all to this webinar titled Entertainment-Driven Wine Tourism in the New World, Award-Winning Experiences from Australia and New Zealand. I would like to start, first of all, by acknowledging that I'm reaching out to you all from the traditional land of the Ghana people, and I want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I would also like to just say a few words about Great Wine Capitals. Probably several of you are very familiar already with our association, but in case this is the first time that you've heard this term, Great Wine Capitals is a global network that brings together some of the world's most prestigious wine regions, all of which share also key international cities renowned for their cultural, economics, and academic significance. The network promotes collaboration in wine tourism, business, and education among its members region, and currently we have 12 members, 12 capital cities that are part of this network. Just also a couple of words before I introduce, starting from our moderator, Mark Sheckley, and our speakers, the purpose and the objective of this webinar. I guess really in a few words, the webinar is born with the, acknowledgement that we're seeing in everybody's sort of professional lives of the fact that wine tourism is changing a lot, and as well the profile of people who want to visit and be part of a cellar door experience. I guess we're moving away, as you're probably going to hear from our speakers, particularly also from Robin, away from only people that are interested in wine to people that just want to have a good time, and finding sort of, new ways therefore to attract consumers and tourists who, as I said, might decide to join a wine tourism experience beside the fact that they might enjoy drinking wine, but just as I said, having a great time. So we've been very lucky to bring to you some of, the most interesting examples of successful wineries that have implemented this philosophy and concepts, and also having somebody like Robin Shaw, who have studied a lot all this area around wine, innovative wine tourism experience, to give you sort of a brief overview of where we are at, sort of what are the key trends that we're seeing and some of the key strategies that we can develop around innovative wine tourism experiences. So it is my real honor to introduce you now our moderator and then our speakers. So I'm going to start with Mark. Mark originally is from New Zealand, and is an award-winning content producer, journalist, presenter, and brand consultant who blends in his love of storytelling with his passion for wine. Currently based in Lausanne, Switzerland, Mark hosts events across Switzerland, the UK, and the Asia Pacific, writes for international media, and conducts workshops in storytelling and communication. He's a WSET qualified wine professional and has collaborated with global food and beverage brands. He's also judged in numerous international wine competitions, such as the Mondial du Chasselas, Concours Mondial de Bruxelles, and Bio Swiss and London's International Sparkling Wine Awards. In 2024, Mark was a finalist in the Global Wine Communicator Award, run by 67 Paul Mall, and is currently co-writing the Smart Traveler's Wine Guide to Switzerland for the Académie du Vin Library. Mark, thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining us today.
Beautiful, Armando. Kia ora.
Let's go. Let's move on then. Our first speaker is Robin Shaw. Robin is the founder of Wine Tourism Australia and Vintuition, working with wineries and wine region to enhance visitor experiences and boost cellar door sales. With over 30 years in the industry, her career spans leadership roles at Jacob's Creek, Adelaide Hills Wine, South Australian Tourism Commission, and Winemakers Federation of Australia. Robin has created extensive industry resources, including the Wine Tourism Toolkit for Australia and South Africa, and Wine Australia's growing wine tourism program. Her Vintuition training has set the benchmark for cellar doors, services and sales across Australia and beyond. I'm also very proud to say that Robin is our resident lecturer in wine tourism at the Adelaide Business School. Secondly, we will hear from Chester Osborn. Chester is the chief winemaker and viticulturalist and the fourth generation of the Osborn family to grow grapes and make wine in his McLaren Vale property, purchased by Joseph Osborn in 1912. Chester continues his family winemaking tradition, utilizing the vineyards, original cellars, and the traditional winemaking techniques handed down by his forefathers. In 2017, Chester created the D'Arenberg Cube, an architectural and tourism landmark blending art, wine, and innovation. Chester, also welcome to you to our webinar. And then last but definitely not least, we have Francis de Jager from Blackburn Vineyards in New Zealand, from Hawke's Bay. For over 20 years, Blackburn has established itself as one of the icons of the Hawke's Bay wine, food, and hospitality scenes. They're known for their limited series wine, meticulously crafted by winemaker David McNee, and they also offers much more than just wine. Committed to deliver unforgettable experiences, they offer everything from wine tasting and dining to concert and accommodation, all set in one of New Zealand's most iconic locations. Francis, also welcome to you, and thanks for joining us for this webinar. So how this webinar is going to work, I will pass it now over to Mark, and then we will hear from Robin, Chester, and Francis, and then we will have some time at the end for some Q&A. And if Mark pass me back the microphone at the end, I just would like to share some news about the entry of Best of Wine Tourism Awards, both in Adelaide and Hawke's Bay. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Armando. And again, thank you for everyone joining us today, wherever you are. And of course, this is a really interesting topic, not just because I'm from New Zealand, so we're representing down under, but also the entertainment idea of wine tourism. The old school way of thinking was all the entertainment you needed was in the bottle, but that the world has changed. It's more diversified and consumers are more diversified. And this is making for very interesting and very different varieties of wine experiences everywhere. So it is a pleasure to have our guests here today. In terms of how we're going to run the webinar, you'll see in the Zoom you have chat and Q&A. Don't ask any questions that we'll be asking along the way, and more so at the end of the presentations, do not ask it in the chat. Anything you have in terms of issues with technology, not hearing things or anything, put that in the chat, but questions go to the Q&A. No reason to raise your hand, that little icon there as well, because we'll look out for you. We've all got you covered, and we'll be looking through for the questions and get that all sorted. So without further ado, of course, our first speaker coming in live from Adelaide with some really good information and stats about how wine tourism is evolving, changing, and moving wine lovers and more. I hand it over to Robin Shaw.
Thanks, Mark. I am just sharing my screen now, so let me know, please, when you can see everything.
You're good, Robin. Looking great.
Looking good. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's fantastic to be here and with some fantastic other wineries and people. So thank you to Great Wine Capitals and the University of Adelaide for inviting me here today. Now, I've only got 15 minutes, Mark. I hope you're keeping me to time because I have a terrible habit of just keeping on going. So I've limited the slides and hopefully that will keep me to time. So today we're talking about how tasting rooms have really morphed from being straight up tasting rooms or cellar doors to genuine destinations in their own right. And I guess over the 30 years, if I say it quickly, it doesn't seem like so long, that I've been in the industry, they really have changed a lot. We talk about the old belly to the bar wine tastings where people would go for a free tasting and walk out, well, back in the day, often with cases of wine, which we hope people are still doing to some extent, or even worse, or even better, bulk wine back in the day. Now, of course, people are visiting wine regions for all sorts of different reasons. And let's go through a few of those and what's changed. So the wine tourism transformation, as I like to call it, has been from basic tasting rooms to genuine destinations. And over this period of time, we've seen that wine and food have been recognised by tourism organisations in Australia and around the world as drivers for tourism. And it took a really long time to get there. In fact, I think it was a conversation I had in 2013 with Tourism Australia when they finally said to me, yes, we agree, wine and food are drivers for tourism. And since then, we've seen a significant investment by tourism organisations, state governments and other entities, as well as wineries themselves, in recreating cellar doors to be these destinations that offer entertainment and value and wine and food, immersive experiences, even accommodation. Wineries have also seen that tourism itself can actually be a revenue source. And we've seen this with the development of experiences and particularly commissionable product so that wineries can enter the tourism distribution system and make genuine revenue from that area as well as from wine itself. We've also seen through research that's been done over the years that there is a demonstrated link between people visiting wineries and future purchase behaviour. And in the wine industry, this is incredibly important. There's a considerable amount of capital that gets invested in creating cellar doors and maintaining them. And at the end of the day, wineries are there to make and sell wine. So if we can make that link between people visiting our regions, visiting our wineries, and then going out into retail, going home, going to restaurants, and actually purchasing wine, then we know it's working for us. We've also seen that many regions that are wine regions have also become wine tourism regions, and arguably they are not the same thing. We have 65 wine regions in Australia, for those of you who didn't know, and I could not say that all of those are actually wine tourism regions. So the regions that have really embraced tourism and the wineries in those regions that have embraced tourism are the places where people are really going these days. And we've seen the likes of this in well, if we take South Australia, where I am at the moment, we've seen this across most of the regions here, where there's been a significant investment, not just around wine, but also around supporting services, facilities, accommodation, restaurants, and other types of businesses, so that the entire regions now benefit from the fact that the wine region has grown up and has become a major destination and international drawcard. We're also seeing that there's a lot of diversity in experiences and the types of facilities at wineries to meet the growing consumer demand for different types of facilities. So there's a major trend that people want to go to wineries to get married. So vineyard weddings are a big deal. And we're seeing wineries actually put up accommodation in regions and on their premises to accommodate this. We're seeing that we've got restaurants, maybe named restaurants as well. So we're seeing partnerships between chefs and wineries. We're seeing art installations. I'll let Chester talk all about that later. And we're seeing all these sorts of diverse experiences. And this is helping us in our wine regions to attract many more types of visitors than we ever could before. This also increases the opportunities for tour operators who have their own businesses and find that they can bring visitors to the wine regions and create these incredible itineraries. And of course, when it comes to the wineries themselves, from a cellar door perspective, the cellar door is what I call the heart of a direct-to-consumer program. And that's not what we're talking about today, but this is where that loyalty, that relationship with visitors who become customers begins. So today, because we have limited time, I'm only going to focus on three things. The first is I'll give a quick overview of some of the current travel trends that are happening in the world. And as I'm going through these trends, it's worth thinking about how you can leverage these. So if you are a winery or a wine region or a tour operator, how can you leverage some of these trends to create experiences that bring more visitors to your destination? The second is audience. And I won't spend a lot of time there except to point out how important it is to really know who your audience is. And then I'll go through some of the experiences, a little bit of university stuff here where we talk about how experiences are created and how we find the sweet spot, and then how I'll give a few small case studies of some of the venues that are leveraging both the trends and the fun factors of experiences. So some of the current travel trends that we're seeing around the world, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. Wellness is one of the things that's top of the list. We know that people are traveling to be well, to get well. I won't go into medical tourism and those sorts of things, but wellness and well-being are trends within society as well as within travel. So again, as we think about how we can put wellness with wine and with food and our destinations is something we need to consider. Also, slow travel. We've heard of slow food. Slow travel is a very similar concept. People are leading busy lives. Most people live in cities. More and more people in the future will live in cities and in high rises. So the objective is to slow down, to get out of the cities and to actually take time out. And this trend actually has a big knock-on effect with other trends that are happening as well. Localism is a big one, and this is one that we can leverage in our industry very, very well through our wine, through our food, and particularly through our people. So localism is where people who are traveling want to live and feel like a local. They want to do what the locals do. They want to see where the locals go, and they want to feel like they're part of the local communities. Regenerative travel is another trend. It ties in with sustainability and responsible travel. People are interested and care about what's happening in the world. In our industry, making wine is monoculture, viticulture is monoculture. So if we can bring regenerative practices and sustainability into what we're doing and get those messages out to people, we're playing a big part in this as well. Tying in with slow travel, people want to get off the beaten track as well. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, in Australian terms, going to the outback. It does mean just getting out of the main tourist areas. Cultural immersion means different things, different people. You can take a historical view here. You can take an Indigenous view. You can simply look at what is cultural about a particular region, or what grows there, or what is made there. Reconnection is a big deal. Since COVID, we've seen that people really viscerally need to reconnect with each other and with people that they meet in regions. So reconnection is a major reason why people are traveling in different types of groups, family groups, multi-generational groups, and finding that time out where they can reconnect. Again, we are very fortunate to be in an industry that can allow this to happen. And surprisingly enough, people do want to learn a little. Sometimes they want to learn a lot. Sometimes they want a major transformative experience. These are also the things that we can, in the wine industry and in our cellar doors and tasting rooms, provide for people. So first, the second thing is knowing who your audience is. As you think about designing experiences, it's really important to know exactly who your audience is. So whether you're designing experiences for female travellers, wine connoisseurs, family groups, couples, young people, it's important to focus on a particular audience. And often people say to me, well, if I focus on a particular audience, what does that mean for the other groups that might want to come and visit me? And it doesn't mean that you're going to alienate anybody. What it does mean is that you're going to focus on what is best for you and your brand and for the types of people that you want to actually show up for. So it's not an either or, it's an and, but it is important to design experiences specifically for audiences in each case. So how do we create these visitor experiences? I like to think of them as multifaceted visitor experiences, and there's been some research done which is very pertinent to our industry by Pine and Gilmore many years ago. And it works around these 4 experience realms, the first of which is entertainment. And I know that's our theme today. And if you can think of your cellar door as being your theatre and you being on stage, that's the way to think about the entertainment factor. Education, learning a little bit, having a cognitive experience is also an important component. Escapist or escapism means that people are looking for experiences that allow them to just get out of their heads and to just go and relax and chill and have fun. And aesthetic or environment is about where things take place. And if, when you design experiences, you can incorporate each of these realms, we say you've hit the sweet spot. And that's what we're really looking to achieve. So what are some experiences that I've seen around the world that actually do this? Well, one of them is not far up the road in the Barossa at Seppeltsfield. And if you ever get the chance to go to Seppeltsfield and visit the Centennial Cellar, it is a remarkable experience. It is, it evokes history, it evokes culture, and it certainly allows people to learn a little as well. So this is where the Seppelt family laid down a barrel of port in 1878 and 1 barrel a year ever since. And every year they release a 100-year-old port, which is quite special. You can even go and buy port in little 100ml bottles from your birth year. And if you're very lucky, you can even taste your birth year, although I believe that that won't happen for too much longer because, of course, these barrels are finite. But it's an incredible experience and allows people to really engage with the history and the forward vision that this family had so long ago to create something that is a legacy and unique in the entire world, which is quite amazing. Sticking to South Australia, but heading to the Adelaide Hills, is Golding Wines. Golding is a family wine company, and they focus on immersive experiences for people, one of which is what you can see in front of you there, a palate picnic. A wonderful opportunity for people to dine on locally made foods out in a beautiful setting overlooking the vineyards, getting immersed in what the local culture is, and of course allowing that opportunity for everybody to reconnect and connect with themselves. Heading across to South Africa, one of my favourite destinations, as many of you know, we're heading to the Breede Kloof region in South Africa. And this is a beautiful piece of architecture, and you're looking at the Bossius Chapel. And this chapel is an architectural piece of wonder. But it's not just about the architecture, it's about what this represents. And when it was designed in keeping with the local culture, the local, the hills in the background. And this business itself ticks many of the boxes for a multifaceted experience. They are very much into helping the local children with setting up a school just down the road, which literally, if you stand at the back of the chapel, you can see it down the road. So helping the local families and local communities. They have beautiful native gardens that are filled with birds from the region, and a gardener who knows all of the birds and all of the plants and can take you on this amazing tour around the property. They have wellness facilities on site, accommodation that has been part of their heritage experiences, and of course the food and the wine. So this is a multifaceted destination in its own right. Oh, and I just discovered on the last trip, they've even got some zebra and other animals up the back that they're looking after as well. You can do walks, and no lions. You can walk up there, it's okay. And you can do some mountain bike riding and hiking up into the hills as well. So a genuine destination in its own right.
Robin, you have about a minute or so to go.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
Yep.
So
we can come back to it though if there's any key things to share later.
All right.
Yeah.
So I won't spend too much time here. Here's a fun experience. This is Music at Wine at Black Elephant Vintners in Hawke in South Africa. Creation Wines, also in South Africa, is an immersive wellness experience of a major degustation that focuses around wine and food and connecting with sound and the sensory experiences as well. Oh, look at that. I haven't done too badly. So key takeouts, leverage current travel trends, know your audience and design your experiences around their preferences, and offer interactive experiences and value-driven offerings that incorporate these trends. Finally, remember, experiences should be fun. That's what people travel for. And as a bit of an intro to my good friend Chester, who's speaking after me, because he's got no slides, Chester, here's your cube so that everybody has a reference visual. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I know I spoke very fast there. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. This is great.
Thanks, Robin.
And we've got great examples, of course, and we can reference those. We've already got a couple of questions in the chat about, or in the Q&A about that. So let's see if we can cover it. We will jump ahead to Chester. We're going to go to beautiful McLaren Vale. And how's the weather there, Chester? I'm sure it's great. Your background's looking fantastic.
Thank you. It's a painting that I didn't realise was very rude, but my head's blocking out most of the rude parts. So
okay. So keep your head in one place. Anyway, Chester, amazing winemaker, but also a crafter of art and experiences. Please share with us some examples from your side of the world.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And look, hopefully I stay in the light right now, because there's a power. All the lights in this room suddenly died when I turned them on, and I've got little makeshift lights, and right now there's a bit of light coming through the window, so if I end up in the dark, then just listen to me. And yes, I thought I wouldn't give you any slides because there's just too much to show, and I just want to keep your attention, and I want you to use your imagination, because that's what a lot of this is really is what I'll be giving. So the Darenburg Cube, you saw a picture of it, and we built this 17 and a half years ago. It took quite a long time to get the board, my father, his brother and sister, to agree to it. But basically, I had to put forward a good case. And what I said was, well, why should customers come to Darenburg ahead of other people, really? And so I wanted to come up with an iconic building that everyone had to come, And how do I tell that story? So I'll tell you more about that. How do we engage with them and get them to buy, which is one of the big reasons of why we want them to come there. Of course, nowadays we, charge for people to come into the building, which is actually we were the first to really charge, and now everyone in McLaren Vale charges, and that's a common thing, really. So it's been quite a changing space. And what do we want to leave a lasting impression in their mind, so that they keep buying it when they're not at the Darenburg Cube, and maybe even on our club, hopefully, or elsewhere, because we are widely available. I wanted to give a really prestigious feel, which really adds value to it. So again, giving more value to it and their experiences. We just mentioned very briefly that my great-grandfather bought the vineyard in 1912. But we've been actually in the wine industry in McLaren Vale since 1881, because he was a director and treasurer of Hardy's. So there's a lot of reference to this in the Darrenburg Cube. And that's part of the whole thing, is I wanted to give a feeling of art, of getting your senses going, and I wanted to give that authenticity of history and in actual artistic expressions, really. But we were going to. So the old part of the winery, it was built in 1912 and 27, and one woods that added to, and the old homestead was built in the 1880s. And that in 1996 we opened up there, and that became very popular, and everyone wanted to come here. And it was quite small compared to the Darrenburg Cube, so we got too many people wanted to come in. So we thought we'd build more old colonial, and I thought that everyone wanted that. And then one day I woke up and I went, no, actually. We need something that is like the Opera House. I needed something that was iconic. The Opera House brings $3 billion to Australia every year, just this one building. And so I went, we need something that is iconic. And the Opera House represents the sea, the surf, the shells, waves, sailing, whatever, all these things. And I went, well, we need something that represents Darrenburg. So what is Darrenburg? Label names are such a puzzle to work out. I make 85 of them. Wine is such a puzzle to work out. What is the most iconic puzzle? The Rubik's Cube. But instead of colours on the outside, I put puzzles on the outside, and it became the Darrenburg Cube. So we actually sell them as a toy, which you can see I'm holding up one right now. And they're rather hard to solve, the 4x4, with no colours on the outside. And so the benefits of being an icon, as I mentioned, it brings a lot of people to there, and prestige to the brand. And wine is art. So I went, well, we want to engage in an artistic way. And I've always been an artist ever since I was a child. I always was making art, and especially junk art. And now there's 100 sculptures of my own in the building telling this story throughout the building. I wanted everyone to come to the building. So it had to be something that if you go to McLaren Vale, you had to go to the Darrenburg Cube. And I wanted to make a really transformative experience that made you go beyond what you actually have ever seen before, and made you feel different. People say when they get to the Darrenburg Cube, they go, I should have been on drugs. And then after 5 minutes of being here, they go, oh no, actually I am on drugs. They don't need to really. Even as you walk up the road of the vines, you can hear the weather as sound. So 8 parameters of weather are being turned into this really amazing, very euphoric sound that is giving you this a beautiful feeling. And then as you walk into the doorway, there's actually a reverse perspective art piece that if you wobble from side to side, because it's reverse perspective, it moves really crazy. When you get close, the front and the back swap, and you actually get dizzy. So you can walk in as if you're drunk, and then as you get really close, you feel really drunk. So you're actually getting drunk without even having had any wine straight away. And then you look to the right-hand side, there's a cow there on its tail, her tail, I should say, and hugging a polygraph, a lie detector. And this represents that we are biodynamic. We're the largest biodynamic grower in Australia. And it has things crossed out like Roundup and insecticides and hose and things we don't add to. So all our viticulture in one art piece. And they've all got QR codes, all these art pieces. So you can put your phone up to it and hear me telling you about it, or you can read it if you don't want to hear me. And then the next thing on is the world's first fully automated natural winemaker. So this is a robot that we turn on. We put grapes in there, we turn it on, we don't add anything to the grapes, there's no sulfur, no acid, no nothing. And it sits there making the wine and eventually presses it all off every month, and we take it away and we sulfur it and we then sell it. And it's got all the funky natural things. Of course, it brings into conjecture what is natural wine, because there is no such thing as natural wine. It's all made by a winemaker, and this was made by a robot, even though it is a natural wine. So they say hands off. It's like hands on, I should say, not hands off. This is hands off. Anyway, so other benefits of building a building like this was that we got government funding. You know, if you're going to do something like this, the government can get behind you, and they gave us $2 million, which is great. They also gave us a lot of tourism support. You know, I think that's like spending $1 million a year just promoting the Darrenberg Cube because they need stories. These tourism places, they need things to attract people to, and so they've spent a lot of money promoting us, which has been fantastic. Of course, it needs to be Instagrammable and social media things. So there's mass every time you drive past the building. There is people everywhere filming it and taking pictures with everyone being in front of it, and all the items inside the building are being taken pictures with all the time. There's even myself and my father there as wax models, and you can stand in the middle and have your picture taken between us, which is a bit daunting because I look really old and thin with more hair, which is what I aspire to being like when I'm older, but it's not working so far. It's hair's falling out and we're getting fatter, of course. So, you know, it's also in building a brand, you really want to keep the spunk in the brand. And you know, there's lots of ways of doing that, new labels, new varieties, you know, upgrading packaging and whatever. But really, it gets pretty boring after a while. You know, people sort of get sick of that a little bit. And they really want something that that transforms the brand to this other stage. And that's really where I just needed to build this building to get everyone on board as a whole new feeling that encapsulates Darrenberg. And when everyone sees it advertised or remembers looking back at their pictures, they go, oh yeah, that's that crazy wine. They see that red stripe, the Darrenberg red stripe. They always go, oh yeah, that's Darrenberg. Oh yeah, I've got to try that because I remember that experience that I had there. The unique things, well, there's so many. There's 100 sculptures, one sculpture for every label name in the building. There's a 360-degree video room that has a short video, 30-second video of each of our label names in a very surrealistic way. So all of the art is surrealism in there. We've got Salvador Dali floor, where there are 29 sculptures and a lot of paintings by Salvador Dali that are available for purchase. They're reproductions that Dali started, and that's very, very popular as well. There's about 4 or 5 other artists that have exhibitions in there. Ted Johnson, one of the top surrealist artists of Australia back 30 years ago. I bought 95% of his personal collection in a room. They're really crazy fun art. And there's a girl from Victoria that has an exhibition, does a lot of work with dolls' heads. Greg Johns in the gardens around Darrenberg, 20-year retrospective of his works. That he's one of the top sculpture artists of Australia, making these great organic, big, amazing big buildings. We call the gallery the Alternate Realities Museum because all of these art pieces are like an alternate reality to the wine. And when you get up to the top floor, the bars are actually the shape of 2 lips, the top lip and the bottom lip. And they've got 115 televisions there with a naked lady swimming the length of the bar. And she's mixing up the yeast with the white grape juice all the time. So there's a bit of fog that you see. She's continually doing this, never comes up for air. And there's caricatures of the label names on the glass on the front, which you can see through. And they are out throughout the whole building in many different places, these caricatures. We commissioned 70 of the top cartoonists of Australia to draw caricatures of each of the label names. And they add another whole panache to the whole building. But the bars up the top, they look like lips. Behind the bars is these look like teeth. There's white patterns with black stripes. On the other sides of the lifts, we have hoses of wine hoses, multiple coloured hoses bent over the doorway, look like a big tongue, and then the lift shaft is the esophagus. So this is what we're doing: is tantalising you and tantalising your tongue. There's also.
Can I just actually, sorry, Chester, just for a moment, Robin, can I ask if you can share the image of Chester's cube again, just on your screen while Chester wraps up in the next couple of minutes? Then people can, again, remember what it looks like, the power of the cube, as they would say. Let me know, Robin, if that's good.
So I'm also emphasising all the time the 4 generations. So there's desks of each of the generations, what they had. And that's the Anthropocene epoch installation with Oppenheimer playing the original first bomb that ever went off. There's a aroma room where you can smell the actual all the different 40 different aromas of wine to get your senses going. So when you get to the top floor, they're really excited, and you taste wine, and it actually tastes a lot better than it really is, so that you buy more. That's how I do. There are a lot of different experiences you can do. You can just do a standard tasting. You can do a gin tasting instead, if you like, because I make gins. We've got 13 different gins and whiskey as well, and you can do your own gin tasting. You can blend your own gin and get a little bottle to take home. You can blend your own version of the Darrenbeck Dead Arm, which is a Shiraz, a top Shiraz that a lot of people know about. Or you can taste 5 vintages of the Darrenbeck Dead Arm, or you can taste 5 vintages, the same vintage of different single vineyard components that go into the Dead Arm that are older, mature wines that are quite fun, that age really slowly. You can do all sorts of experiences, degustations in Darry's Veranda restaurant, which won 2 years ago the best restaurant in South Australia. Lots of different degustations there. There's combos of helicopter rides, of biplane flights, and there's a lot of other things that we do. So all of these things I'm trying to do are quite educational. They're fun, they're unique, they're authentic. We're really emphasizing handmade, small batches, basket pressing in these art pieces, foot trod, as models of fermenters, and you can see foot treading going on. It's all part of the trying to get the experience economy. Everyone's now. Everyone wants an experience, so they can really become one with us. But it's all coming out in a book shortly, and they'll be using that in the tasting room. This book. So when you're tasting the Darrenbeck Dead Arm up there, the book will be open to a page, and I'll have 2 A4 pages with all of these experiences and art pieces and whatever in there. There's a song that I've selected, which is Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah, that you should play when you're drinking this wine. And I've written a poem tying the wine to the song. So you'll be up there doing that. You can play it, you can just Spotify it and put it to your ear and listen to it. Or you can do it at home if you buy the book or follow it and get another whole experience deeper than what a normal just a tasting note would be. Trying to really
Thank you, Chester. So thank you, Chester. I mean, you're prolific. I was just going to briefly ask, did the ideas start in development, or did you develop the experiences that then obviously led on to how it would be applied in the cube?
It's a bit of a combination. I come up with the wine first of all, of course, and then come up with a name that I think is going to work with that particular blend or variety or whatever. And then I go, okay, well, what art piece can I make for that? And then we give it to the caricature artist to do, and the 360 video guy to do, and it all just keeps emerging gradually in this way, really. And I buy lots of junk and just form junk art out of that, which again is just a whole process.
Thank you, Chester. Amazing. It's so great to see it. And obviously we all have to experience it, the lady and the lips, and the wines and the songs. So fantastic. Thank you, Chester. And your lights did go out, but you're still looking pretty good. So
I just made it a little bit stronger because I had it actually underneath the computer on my notes so I could see what I was doing. And I realized I was getting fainter and fainter. I looked like Deadly Ernest for a bit there, out of the coffee.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're going to now head a little bit further south to the beautiful Tomato Hills, where we've got Black Barn. And Francis is now going to share some ideas and experiences of the all-encompassing way that Black Barn brings wine lovers, but also wine travelers and consumers in. Over to you, Francis.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mark. And Robin and Chester, they're great anecdotes, Chester, from Darrenbeck. And I haven't been there, but I've seen you at a few tastings over this way down the ditch, but it's been great. And Robin, we've seen you over this part of the world several times. It's great. It's fantastic. So I'll just bring up share my screen, and we'll bring up a few slides that we've got for tonight. Got here.
This is why I don't have slides. It takes too long to bring them up.
Oh, no, we'll get there, Chester. It's all right. Patience.
It's all good.
The virtue.
It's the virtue, exactly. So I'd like to start by just setting the scene, and we'll do a little video that was taken 2 years ago in the height of summer, well, just before summer actually, by Tourism New Zealand, who were very active in Hawke's Bay, and just want to set the scene for what a day in the life of a visitor, or a few hours in the life of a visitor, would be coming to Black Barn Vineyards. So really, Black Barn Vineyards started back in the early 90s. It was a dream of a advertising guru, Kim Thorpe, and a local farm extraordinaire, Andy Coulthart, really, to produce not only quality red wine, which was the thing at the time in the 90s in Hawke's Bay and Tomato Estate, were great to crack into that, but also a really special place to enjoy that. And really, so different to a lot of other vineyards. It started from the customer and actually worked backwards to what we have today, and creating the various elements of the experience throughout that time. They basically spent 10 years from the time they basically had their idea on paper to officially opening in 2003. And that experience that they dreamed up then is arguably more relevant today than I think it was back in 1992. And rather than beginning with the wine and the building, they imagined the kind of experience that people truly want, and then crafted a winery and experiences delivered that as well. Let's move on to our next thing before people's mouths start watering too much. So as I said, it started from the customer and worked backwards, and it began here. So this was some humble farmland on the outskirts of Havelock North in the early 90s. In the foreground there, you'll see the trees there where our first retreat existed, Rush Cottage Retreat, and that's nearly, I think, 120 years old now. So Kim and Andy set about from their dream here and progressed to a point where this is what we're enjoying today. So Black Barn Vineyards is wine, yes, but it's so much more than that. It's about people, and people are at the heart of what we do, and instrumental in everything that we do, and the experiences that we create and continue to dream up. So as you can see behind me in my screenshot, this is the Black Barn Cellar and Bistro in the Havelock Hills, which is now a smaller denomination of Hawke's Bay wine and vineyards that we can now actually put on our label, which is fantastic. So we're going to go through a few of the different things that we offer as our experiences, and then we'll come to the last part, which is our cellar door, which is really the heart of the business. So Black Barn Bistro, as you can see, overlooks our plains, our beautiful plains, and onto our vineyards. The award-winning bistro focuses on sorry, just get my notes here. Focus on local ingredients, great wine, and is really driven by a philosophy that's throughout what we do in many vineyards, which is just simplicity and comfort for the people coming to visit us. During summer, we're open 7 days for lunch and 3 nights for dinner, and inside by the fire in winter, or outside under the vines, basically, as we have here during the summer, which is people's pick. Often they'll come into the cellar door, which is right before you enter the restaurant. The inside of the restaurant's completely empty, and everyone's sitting outside under the vines. A great picture to have. And further to the experiences that we offer, the bistro houses a lot of private events like we're having tonight. I just introduced a comedian, Tom Sainsbury, for an event we're having in the restaurant for 85 people tonight. Weddings and also concerts and small events right through there in the restaurant. Luxury accommodation is one of our shared menus that we have, where tables can enjoy, and we have a special winter menu that we have that we pair with some of our wines as well during this time of year when it's a bit quieter. Luxury accommodation is probably one of our biggest aspects to Blackburn Vineyards, and a huge driver of people coming into not only our business but to Hawke's Bay. We have 16 retreats in total, ranging from 2 bedrooms right through to 8 bedrooms on the river, in the vineyard, by the sea, or just in the countryside in Hawke's Bay. 60 bedrooms in total, which at full capacity can house 135 guests. Imagine all those guests on site. They're coming to concerts, they're coming to the restaurant, they're coming to our cellar door. Each retreat, of course, has a mini bar with all our wines in it, some local craft beers, and mineral water as well. From the bistro, each day for all of our guests comes freshly baked sourdough and homemade muesli, also olive oil that comes from the trees surrounding us. So basically, Blackburn, we've got a really hard-working property that we maximise through experiences, through all these different things that we're about to see. Guests that stay with us get early access to concert tickets, preferred terrace seating, and also new wine releases. Quite a lot of experiences that we offer and retained through our bistro is also in-house dining with the retreat guests. So one of the chefs from the bistro will create a dinner inside their retreat for the guests. It could be 10, it could be 8, it could be 2 people, matched with our wines. Dave McKee, our winemaker, will join them, go through each of the wines, and it's a pretty special occasion. And more we're getting people that are booking the accommodation, coming for a weekend. You know, our ideal customer will stay for an hour, but ideally for a few days. They come in, they stay with us, they go to the restaurant, they come into the cellar door, taste our wine. They'll go to a concert, the growers market, in a Saturday morning during summer, and then leave with a case of wine. And it's amazing and interesting how often that happens. And you know, I think more and more the all-encompassing experience that we are, and as a destination, is just becoming it's becoming more important.
Francis, can I ask just briefly, have you seen stay nights or guests staying longer? Has that increased? Was it originally just one night? Now are people spending a longer period of time? How has that evolved?
Well, that's, you know, to answer that quickly, we have a minimum stay of 2 nights. So
okay, good. Okay, yeah.
Particularly most of our retreats, in the summertime, we're seeing lots of families coming in extended stays. In the wintertime, we're gently encouraging them in by doing winter specials. So they'll stay for 3 nights, pay for 2, or stay for a week and pay for 5 nights, and we get a huge uptake of that, and that allows us to add on all these other experiences that we can offer while they're here. You know, for us, it's not just about while they're with us, but what else are they doing in Hawke's Bay? I think as other areas around the world that have vineyards and experiences, I think we're a pretty unified region that really look after each other and promote each other's experiences as well, which I think is really important going forward, and especially as everyone has such diversified experiences to offer. It adds a lot of value to people who come to the region.
You have a couple more minutes left to go, Francis. Yep.
So these are some of our retreats that we offer. Summerlee, which is one of the biggest retreats, 8 bedrooms, has a swimming pool, tennis court, you name it. They're great spaces. So weddings and private events are a big part of our business. Each year we're holding up to 60 different weddings and events through about 5 different venues. And Olive Shed, that's one in the middle of the vineyard. It's the river room, which overlooks the Tukituki River Valley. So we also have a growers market, which is New Zealand's original farmers market, and started in the late 90s, right in the heart of the vineyard, after Kim and Andy they planted a circle of plane trees, exactly like a sundial, hoping that it would sometime tell the time, but as it happens, trees don't don't go straight, so time's out the window. But the growers market is really morphed into a huge social occasion in the summer. It brings in locals that are really proud of what they do. They catch up, they bring their friends from outside of town, and with brunch, obviously, we're doing wine tastings and also wine by the glass where you want it. Fresh produce, all from Hawke's Bay. Cellar door, we offer, in the past we've offered generally just guided tastings, winemaker tastings, group tastings, but in the past few years we've really seen a shift in customers coming through the door that want to do their own thing, almost like do your own tastings. They're self-guided, particularly younger, not necessarily millennials or Gen Xers, but all sorts of people for different reasons that want to do their own thing, and they're really happy to explore different wines without someone telling them all about it at the time. This is our cellar door, which leads into the restaurant, and in Fig Alley, which we have right throughout the summer for tastings, plates. You can have lunch out there, and also we developed last year some wine flights that we have in the Fig Alley as well. So you'll see there we have a board of 4 different wines, which are held in beakers, and then we have tasting notes underneath, depending on which wines people take, and people can basically run through them at their own leisure. We can then back up with different notes and that sort of experience is probably one of our most popular ones at this stage, and depending on the time of year, even one that we can export further. Another huge part of our business, and arguably the biggest and definitely the last 12 months, is Black Barn Amphitheatre. Another really big part of what we do and why we do it, and obviously a huge mover of wine that we can sell there. So in the last 12 months alone, we've hosted over 20,000 people at the amphitheatre for different events, ranging from 18 to 65 years old. Anything from classical, which we don't do so many more. It's literally a dying market, through to DJs or rock or anything in between. So it's a really important part of our business going forward, and it's a really good introduction to the wine business. I think that brings people back for different reasons to Black Barn, to taste wine or the restaurant or even accommodation.
Thank you, Francis. If we can just stop there, I think we would like to be able to open up to the Q&A as well. Just briefly, I'm just going to ask our guests who are joining in, logged in. The Q&A is open. Please drop your questions in there. As people ask some bit more questions, Francis, I wanted to ask, as wine consumption does seem to be, or not seems to be, is decreasing, particularly on a global market, you mentioned the wine flight idea seems to be now one of the most popular of the experiences. Is that something that you're seeing an increase of people just taking small tasting glasses to experience in their own leisure rather than buying a big bottle to enjoy all at once?
It really depends. I think there's 2 parts of that. A lot of people are coming in and doing the tasting, and they don't necessarily want someone to run them through all those wines. So they really want to take their time, and going back to what you said, Robin, about the slow or more leisurely tourism or experience, and we're really finding that people want to take their time. They go through the wines, they talk about it with their friends, they come back to us, they might grab a glass, they might grab a bottle, and then we're encouraging them as well at the end of it. If they want to purchase some wine, then we offer them a great deal to take a case home, of course.
Yeah, so it's a reimagined wine degustation or tasting, really, that people get to eat and take their own time. Fantastic. You can just close your slides or stop your screen sharing there. It'd be great to switch over. There's a couple of other questions in there. Thank you, all of you, Chester, Robin, and Francis, for your insight, but also showing off what you have to offer. Robin, this a question for you, coming through from the Q&A. I think this is good because you obviously see data, but also you work with lots of different entities and experiences. How much of a challenge is it to differentiate and be unique and not just copy and paste what someone else is doing?
That's a really good question. The first thing always is to think about who you are as a brand. So what is your unique selling proposition or your unique value proposition or point of difference, whichever one of those terms you like to use? Work out what is truly unique about you first, and then design experiences that reflect who you are as a brand. Look at the features of your property as a destination. What are the benefits of those features to prospective visitors? And always bearing in mind, of course, who is that audience that you're looking to attract? You can't be all things to all people. So it's important to put those two things together. People will gravitate to you as a brand if you are clear and articulate exactly who you are. And it's important to stand for something, because if you don't, you stand for nothing. So it's important to get that right. So I would suggest going through that process of truly understanding who you are as a brand, really articulating your value proposition, and then thinking about your audience and designing around that will definitely help you be unique in your own way. So I like to give lots of examples of different types of experiences that are out there. But, you know, you can do a blending experience at different wineries and they will all be different because they will be presented differently. The stories will be different. The sense of place will be different. So it's not going to be the same everywhere, and nor should it be. I hope that answers the question fairly well.
That's great. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Francis, we have a question here also asking about return on investment. Now, obviously, Black Barn, that's a significant property. How do you measure the success of the tourism experiences in the wineries with the actual business model? I mean, a lot of money is spent, but is it obviously working? Not to give obviously company results, but is it working in a way in this very different time of wine appreciation and wine consumer connection?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Mark, and I think not to harp on about the COVID pandemic, but we saw a massive shift after that, and I think for probably at least a summer and a winter, possibly 18 months, there was, I think, a honeymoon period where everyone was really enjoying themselves once they were out of lockdown. And we've really seen a shift away from that now, where people, I think economic times are a little bit tighter. You know, there's reasons they're drinking a little bit less wine. So we're really, while the business is successful in each silo of the business, we do really monitor quite closely to make sure it's working. We find that it's working really strong, but we also having to work really hard to make sure that each area is maximized, and we're not sitting on our hands and letting trends go past us. I think it's really important to recognize how and where they're moving, and I think we're lucky that we can, I guess, for the want of a better word, pivot to these new situations really quickly. And an example is wine flight. So, you know, rather than pushing people away that don't want that guided tasting, then we enable them to do this. It's friendly, it's relaxed, and they still are purchasing wine as a result of it, which is the goal of what we're doing it for.
Fantastic. And actually, it leads on a similar question. And I think, Chester, you'll be a good one for this. But obviously, Robin and Francis, you can chime in as well on this because it's all encompassing. Chester, how many of your visitors to the Cube and to the winery are passionate about wine? Or are most of your visitors sort of a balance? You know, give me an idea of your average guest that's visiting.
Right.
It is widely diverse because we are quite an interesting building. You don't have to be involved in wine to come and appreciate it and have fun there. But obviously to come in, it's $25, and if you go on to see the Darley floor, it's another $10. So, you know, it's a significant investment. If you do have kids and whatever, then you know, you've got to have, most people will have some sort of understanding of wine to a certain degree, because that's what you're paying for. Part of it is the tastings included in there. But it is very diverse. We get a lot of New Zealanders, so maybe that's why they're not visiting Black Barn. But New Zealand, of course, is huge to Australia for tourism right now, and India has been growing quite a lot in recent times. China hasn't bounced back from pre-COVID levels. They've got a lot of problems in China, obviously, with costs of living and whatever money around there. So, but it's very diverse. One of the things I was going to say that's very important is, and really has to be factored into the costs of doing such a development, is your wine club. Is the reason I did this amazing building is so that we get so many people to join our wine club, and then we could sell to them. And it's amazing how big that becomes and how important it is to your business and how much profit is in it. And so, you know, you do have to do the cost benefit analysis on this whole thing, and it's very much guessing what you could be, what you could become. But we outdid our budgeting by quite a long way. We got a lot more people, we got a lot more money in the door, and we got a lot more club members. So we went from being a company that did like 75% to 80% export to now it's only 45% export because Australia's grown so big for us. And a lot of that is our club actually, and then also the recognition of the Darabakid.
Yeah, Chester, actually, you hit the nail on the head with that one, because that was one of my questions, in fact, about wine clubs. So that is something that we see a lot, and we will call the new world for rights of this webinar. But in Europe, particularly, and other older regions, the wine club being offered by the actual producer or estate is still quite a small part of the business, or if at all. Do you think that is a great way to connect, obviously, wines being sold and events happening? And obviously, you know that your customers are always going to be getting some wine every quarter or every month, whatever the frequency is.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of versions of the wine club. There's the automatic deliveries, or there's just a phone out or an email out to a much greater club, you know, and they all can get specials. And you know, I go to each city, and they can come to a big tasting or a dinner or whatever. There's lots of different ways of engaging with them. I still would like to engage with them more as a Darrenberg Cube perspective. Like they try to, my staff, put together a really interesting story, but they don't get as creative as what I do. So I think they think I'm away with the ferries half the time. But there are people who really.
How could they wonder that?
There's so much interesting things that we could be saying that they don't bother with, that they go, oh no, it's just get in the way of the sale. But anyway, maybe I'm a bit weird. But anyway, I think I answered that question.
Okay, thank you, Chester. And just briefly, Francis, does Black Barn have a club, a subscription club, or is it more about destination experiences and purchases?
Yes, we do have a wine club, Mark. We've got a couple of different levels, and sort of similar to what Chester's talking about, we've actually built in a lot of our experiences, and going back to the concerts, there's a really big hook in there for people to have early access to tickets. For our club members, we have a reserved terrace where they can basically turn up to the concert any time. They always have a seat, they always have a place to stay. It's looked after by security. And going even further than that, we started last season actually having a dedicated dinner in the restaurant before a concert, pre-concert drinks, whatever it may be, depending on the show, for our club members. So it's a really big draw card for them, and that all-encompassing experience obviously allows us to sell wine to them, but also for them to experience some really special parts of Black Barn that not everyone can.
Yep, so that relationship continues with the events and the other services. As we wrap up, I just wanted to throw back to Robin. You mentioned about the sweet spot, and I know it's a hard one to define in this business that's ever changed, but I also wanted to integrate that with one of the questions that comes through. So the sweet spot, finding your sweet spot, a little bit more elaboration, but also briefly, maybe the top 2 or 3 trends that you are seeing for the future. Where do you think this is going as wine consuming is decreasing, but people or consumer expectations and personal and story-driven experiences increase? Over to you, Robin.
Do I have another 15 minutes?
No, we could do this again tomorrow.
Crikey.
This is always good for part 2, but over to you.
Future trends. There's a lot of talk around the Gen Zs and millennials, etc. I think in the wine industry, if we talk more around experience seekers and those people who share the same types of psychographics rather than demographics, I think we have a better way of approaching things. So if I think about it from that perspective, in the wine industry, if we're looking at people who are seeking out, for example, culinary adventures, wine and food are the things that go together. And one thing we do know is that people love to eat. So even if wine consumption per se is declining somewhat, if we pair it up with food in the right ways and introduce it in a different way to different people, I think we're onto something more. So if I think about what, for example, Creation Wines are doing, they're pairing the whole wellness idea of plant-based foods that make you feel good, even if you've had a 10-course degustation that isn't going to drive your blood sugar up and those sorts of things. I think these are some of the trends that are working really well for us. And the other thing to think about is the occasions for which people are visiting our wine regions and our wineries. It's not always, unfortunately, to buy a bottle of wine. That is the job of the people who work there, to actually sell it to them on the day. It is often for other things, social reasons, celebration reasons. And if we understand why people are visiting on any particular day, we can cater for them a lot better. I often talk about people being on a wine journey, on a personal wine journey, and you can go from being a relatively low involved wine consumer all the way up to being a high involved wine consumer in your lifetime or not. The idea is that as professionals in the industry, for us to recognize where people are on that journey and provide them with the types of experiences that they're seeking at that time. I'll give you a quick example. Dear friend of mine, I've known her for 20 years. Loves wine, drinks it every day. I have tried to get her to really appreciate the great wine, and she knows a good wine from a poor wine, but really it's about, I want to drink a wine every single day. It has to be affordable. And we did a little tour down to Coonawarra a couple of years ago, and I was so excited. They got this whole blending thing together as an experience to do, all the lab stuff. I thought it was amazing. She sat there with her arms crossed and said, I didn't come here to make wine. I came here to drink it. And, it was it was just a terrific illustration of where people are in their journeys. What appealed to me didn't appeal to her, but a tour appealed to her, a historical tour of an underground cellar. So again, I think understanding your audience, where people are at, meeting them where they're at, taking them a bit further on the journey is the job for all of us in the future.
Thank you, Robin. And actually, Francis, a question's come through, which I think is good for you, in regards to low or no alcohol beverages and experiences for kids. Now, obviously, Black Barn is extensive in terms of its offering, but are you targeting that niche or different market as well? How do you do it?
Well, I mean, low and no alcohol is certainly a factor at our concert experiences that we see, and we definitely cater for. And there's a lot of people that want to come and enjoy concerts and have just a little low alcohol beer or cider or whatever it may be. So that's certainly one we cater for, and it's growing. To the detriment of wine and beer and other sales, but to us, it's not about that. As I think this discussion been, it's about experiences for all types of people in whatever wine journey that they are. And as far as children goes, there's not, how can I say this? We're not actively encouraging this, but families are really welcome at Black Barn. We have games. We've drawn up our own colouring in chart, which has got games on it for the children. So when they're sitting when the parents are sitting in the restaurant having lunch and the kids are busy drawing, colouring in, doing quizzes, so they're actually really quiet. The children, the parents can enjoy the lunch. The children are enjoying what they're doing, and it works really well. And our team are really good with that.
Thank you for that, for addressing that. And obviously, the kids would love the cube, right, Chester?
Yeah. You don't really need to cater for them. It's all catered for in there, and that there's so much. The kids are so impressionable. They love visual stuff, and there's just so much. I use so many toys in making my art that they're looking at them. Unfortunately, quite a few of them break bits off, whatever, when they're a bit young, whatever. So I'm always mending pieces of art, which actually makes the art piece even more crazy and more interesting often when I'm adding a different piece in there. So yeah, but I don't actively pursue children because it's not really supposed to be promoting wine to children. So, but they come, of course.
Of course, and as we can see, this seminar or this webinar today, it's all encompassing, but there's a lot to go over, as Robin has also said. But as we started with, as I hand back over to Armando, as we started with, it's beyond the bottle now. It is, and it's a lot more important to grasp the consumer's imagination, their energy, but also their loyalty in a lot of different ways. And that will obviously, if someone has a relationship with this venue, with this experience, they will come again, they'll remember you, and they'll remember the wines. So I think storytelling and experiences really do perfectly have a marriage. We could do part 2, part 3 of this webinar. Let's stay tuned. You would have seen a poll come up for those of us who've logged in today. Please add your response. We would love to hear what you're thinking, what you want more of. It's been a pleasure hosting you today. And of course, share your stories and experiences with us in the Great Wine Capitals Network. I'll hand over to Armando. And thank you again, everyone.
Mark, thank you very much. And I would like to start, first of all, by thanking you for moderating the session so well. And to all our speakers, Robin, Chester, Francis, thank you for donating your time to share your insights with us. I said at the beginning that the goal, the objective of Great Wine Capitals is sharing knowledge. And I think we've done that brilliantly today. I would also like to thank all of you for being with us for the entire duration of this webinar. I know we've gone a little bit over time, so particularly thanks for staying with us for so long this afternoon. I just would like to share one quick website, if I can, just as a reminder for all the companies who are joining us from Australia and New Zealand, that the Best of Wine Tourism Award is open for application. This is the Adelaide website, where you can see that the deadline for application is on the 30th of June. And just right here, if you are actually joining us from Hawke's Bay, the also application for the Best of Wine Tourism Award is open with a closing deadline on the 20th of July. With this, again, thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of the afternoon, evening, or a great rest of the day, and look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye.